joining us. Before we start, just a couple of quick announcements. If you're a student and you didn't sign in on the way in, please make sure you sign in on the way out. And second, we will be, this event is being recorded, and the recording will be available on the YouTube channel for the world to see too. But you didn't come here to see me, you came here to celebrate this amazing class that went with Professor Carlos España to Chile. So turn it over to Professor España to lead us.
I wanted to start by just thanking Mohammed Tabrani here, Director of and I don't know if you missed it because we just started streaming, but the love and the hugs and all the joy that came up in this room when our director, Mohammed, walked in was just amazing. So it shows you that we have a lot of support. And I also want to thank and shout out Alan Aja, our chair of the Puerto Rican Ethnic Studies Department, because both of these colleagues of mine said yes to my idea of let's do a class in Chile. But I really just want to turn this over to the students. It was a joy for me to go back to Chile. It's where I was born. And we have a lot in common in different ways. And there are a lot of things that were different and even surprising. And it was such a beautiful experience that I've taken all of your reflections, all your papers, and discussed them with Mohammed as I create version 2.0 for this class as we continue doing this in the future. So I want to invite up our first presenter is Mashiat is a Brooklyn College political science and English major, and she'll tell you a little bit about her experience. So let's welcome.
Hello, my name is Mashiat, but I go by Mosh. I'm currently a political science major and an English minor, and I'm in my last.
In my head, you're English major because your paper was amazing.
Honestly, I might as well be both. I've taken so many English classes, and I'm in my last semester of my senior year, so about to graduate. Yeah, so the two strongest reasons I wanted to take this PRLS course in study abroad in Chile was I feel as a CUNY student, we all can relate to a very different college experience than a lot of our peers out of high school. I experienced a lot of my friends, like, you know, doing grocery shopping with their roommates and just having a lot of freedom from their parents and their home life. And as a CUNY student, I didn't really have that, so I thought that studying abroad as a CUNY student would let me experience that for the first time. And that goes into my second point, which is to feel real independence for the first time as a daughter of specifically Bengali immigrants. I grew up kind of sheltered, so I thought, you know, studying abroad would be the best way to get out of that for the first time. This is a picture with my friends Valerie and Danish, by the way. Danish is right there. Valerie is on her way. And so, yeah, so these are parts of my paper that I wrote for Professor España's course. As a 21-year-old Bengali woman, I longed for an experience that would allow me to step fully into my independence. And Chile really did change everything because I really dreamed of independence. I am the youngest daughter of Bengali immigrants, and so I did not have a lot of freedoms growing up. And that kind of continued on into my adult years. And along with that, I kind of doubted my ability to even exist independently. Before going onto the plane, I kind of was like second guessing my entire decision to apply and to go. I really was just stressed about like how am I going to do laundry and how am I going to like cook and how am I going to do these things that my parents like made sure I had. So I feared that weight of loneliness and uncertainty. But honestly, it took me like the weekend to adjust to being on my own for the first time. And a part of that was because our cohort was so beautiful and so close and connected. So that homesickness really just went away after a couple days of just settling in. And honestly, I was just like, I don't know why I was so nervous from the start because we all really bonded together really well. And to focus on like the actual course, much of my time in Chile really caused me to think about my own family and their, you know, history with immigration and their experiences with it. and being away from my home and being immersed in a different cultural context made me think more intentionally and specifically about how it feels to leave everything behind to start a new life abroad. Specifically in Nukulama, St. Luce's experiences as a Haitian immigrant in Chile really connected with me and a lot of us as well, because he was talking about his experiences with racism specifically. And I remember my parents talking about their experiences like on the bus or on the train or coming home from work or applying to jobs where they were just really outcasted. And so it just really made me think about my own parents. And the last question I kind of wrote about was, how do you go on knowing that the refuge for you and your family must come at such a high cost of cultural loss and humiliation? And it takes such strength to really just forge forward and to just put your own personal experiences aside for your children, for generations to come, and to make sure that you have this new place in this country that, tries to really single you out as much as it could. Also, yeah, this is all of us together. I really miss it. And this is in Valparaiso specifically. And I wrote about how where there is injustice, there's just as much, as, if not more, fight from the people. So we saw a lot of graffiti, a lot of street work art that focused on a lot of issues that were in Chile, and I think that connected abroad as well. I think it really made me think about how globally so much of our issues are so interconnected. Chile had a lot of Palestinian liberation movement art, and also this saying that Miguel had translated for me, but I forgot exactly what it is. But I know it has to do about thinking that you could erase people and not being able to do so. So I think that Valparaiso was definitely my favorite out of everywhere we went, because just the spirit of the people and activism and everything was just so strong. You couldn't turn a corner without being reminded of it, which I think is what horrifies a lot of people in power. So I really enjoyed being there. And so lastly, the immigrant experiences I've come to realize really feels fixed or secure. So stability is never fully attained, and it becomes something constantly pursued, always just out of reach. The idea of making it is not a destination, but an ongoing, sometimes even fulfilling chase, one that demands immense emotional, physical, and mental sacrifice. So with that, I was just thinking about how making it and being successful and being, included is something that is always taken away from you constantly as an immigrant, I think. There's just a lot of tendency to want to push people away, obviously, from feeling fully integrated in a new country. And so it becomes something that you're just always reaching for. And I was just thinking about how that can sometimes, or not sometimes, but that can really just damage your mental health. And so I was thinking about that a lot. And also I was learning that I can honor where I come from and my parents' sacrifices without losing myself in those expectations and those conditions. And I want to keep traveling and keep choosing myself and keep building a life that carries forward the sacrifices of immigrants before me, but one that is more so shaped by them and not anchored by its presence. My parents have obviously shaped everything in my life, from my studies to how I am as a human being. And while I love them, and I obviously love the sacrifices they made, and I can have a lot of empathy and feel for what they went through when they first came here, I can also acknowledge how I made this decision to study abroad to kind of break away from that hold on me. And two things can very much exist at the same time, which I think Chile has really made me reflect on. So yeah, thank you.
And next we have Miguel, who is a Puerto Rican Latinx Studies major. So welcome, Miguel.
Yeah, thank you so much. Before I start, I'm going to really quickly go back to that quote because I feel like I want to translate. I think it's really important. I might be slightly mistranslating it, but I'm pretty sure it says, did you think that with the mere fact of murdering us, you could possibly erase our history? And that being on a trans flag, I mean, it made me cry, like, in the middle of the street. But hi, I'm Miguel. Very glad to be here. I missed everyone so much. some of you I haven't seen since the actual trip, so like it's great to see you guys. I am a PRLS major. In terms of like my reasons for taking the trip, obviously I miss my family. I'm from Chile. About half my family lives there, so I was able to see like aunts and uncles and cousins and my grandma and everything. It was amazing. And then obviously the course content looked incredible. This is a picture of Danish and I reading a children's book about Victor Jara, which I did not know that this children's book existed. In this book also, I did a lot of crying on this trip, but you know. So shout out Profe España. The course content was so good. So in terms of like this is a picture of us outside La Moneda Palace. That was such a fun excursion into Santiago. I have been, you know, facing a sort of nationality crisis for the past couple of years because I see you nodding your head because the politics of the Chilean state at the moment are people I think are coming to terms with something that they should have come to terms with a long time ago, which is that a lot of indigenous groups are very successfully and accurately pointing out that Chile is a sort of ethno-supremacist settler colonial state. And, you know, settler colonialism is a big theme in world politics right now. So I remember I did the Mellon Transfer Student Research Program. And my presentation was titled, "How Does Chile Exist? Does Chile Exist?" Because that was very central to, I wanted to do a project about Chilean history, and then I was like, well, is there such thing as Chile at all? So I have a bit from the essay that I wrote. I've seen that much of the culture on this trip, I've seen that much of the culture that exists in this state is either violent and colonial, is either violent and colonial, or adapted from indigenous peoples and immigrant communities. I wouldn't argue that Chile is not a real Latin American country, or that Chileans are entirely white, that many of us are, or that Chile is somehow separate from other Latin American nations. Rather, all Latin American nations exist in this dynamic between US imperialism and their own colonial pasts. To me, Chile is a state in need of a reckoning with its history, which is about the most Latin American thing about it. There is this idea of la raza, you know, whiteness, blackness, and indigeneity have this very weird dynamic in Latin America that is a remnant of European colonization, and that our countries, our states, our nations have used to control indigenous populations as is like politically expedient for them. So this is I feel like this is a part of being Latino, part of Latinidad, that a lot of people are coming to terms with now in this very controversial way. I do believe that, you know, colonial identity to be a cultural rot at the core of Chile, and I think that what it would take to solve it is an approach to Chilean identity and statehood and governance that acknowledges Chile's plurinationality and indigenous past. We did talk in class about the attempt to write a new constitution, the Elisa Loncon reading, where she's a feminist and Mapuche activist who was the president of the Constitutional Convention, I believe, when they tried to write a new constitution in 2022 to replace the Pinochet-era constitution that is unfortunately still the one that Chile is using right now. And that constitution it conceptualized Chile as a plurinational state, and then it got voted down because there were millions of dollars in a right-wing propaganda push to get it shot down. So there's moneyed interest in people not seeing Chile in the way that it is. Reñaca, I feel like, here, I'm just going to read more of this. I thought that it was an excellent decision to stay in Reñaca, staying in the nicer resort area of the country, in La Quinta Región, central of Chilean society, just like for a study abroad trip, for a vacation. It's kind of what you do. But the Chile that we've all been introduced to through our status as tourists is disconnected from the deep indigenous and working class histories that exist here. I felt as though my classmates were making broad assumptions about what Chile is truly like, having only been to one part. It would be like assuming that everyone in the United States is rich and white because you only went to Lower Manhattan and the Upper West Side on vacation. So a really, really clear example of this is while we were out getting decorations for Yezin's birthday party, this is January 12th. So I follow Radio Via Francia, which is this leftist radio station, and Instagram account. And they posted this over here. This is a picture from a protest that was going on. So I'll just read the caption in all caps. Now, urgent. The violent displacement of the La Ballena encampment, a toma is like an encampment, in San Antonio, not Texas, San Antonio, Chile, has begun. A large contingent of Pacos, pigs, carabineros, military police, has been, dispatched from Santiago, capital city, and other cities to repress the townspeople who are defending their livelihoods, their homes with barricades. When the owner of the territories of the lands doesn't tire from speculating and profiting with the land that for years had been abandoned, the state comes and sends its thugs to instate the rule of law, destroying homes and dreams of those who fight for the right to a dignified home. And this is ongoing news. So this is a picture of a carabinero truck spraying tear gas at a crowd of protesters who set up barricades and who were kind of in black bloc protecting their homes. This is an hour and a half from Valparaiso. My cousin lives in San Antonio in the bougier, more country club area. And so this is just like a really fascinating example of the immense class disparity and how this sort of resistance that we learned about in class, shout out Profe España, is still ongoing. Hold on. I want to pull up a quote here. I'm yapping, but the wonderful Palestinian writer Mohammed El-Kurd has this quote about Palestine. Palestine is a microcosm of the world, wretched, raging, fraught and fragmented, on fire, stubborn, ineligible, dignified. The lens we lend Palestinian reveals how we see each other, how we see everything else. I feel like that reflects, the people throwing rocks at that truck over there in that picture. So, thank you. I'm not gonna add this without talking about how much I love this program. It's amazing. So I'm just gonna read again from the essay I wrote. Overall, this study abroad trip was a life-changing experience for me. It helped me deepen my understanding of the Chilean state and made pursuing an academic life there a much more realistic prospect. I have many critiques of Chile, but none of them are with how this program was run. Even discounting some of the stories that I've heard from other study abroad programs about how amazing they were, this program went far above and beyond what a study abroad trip usually is. The cohort grew so close together over a mere month, and we left feeling like a part of a real community. It was academically enriching as well, despite the disparities in knowledge about Chilean culture and history. I spent my entire life learning about Chile, and I feel like I learned as much as my peers did, which is an incredibly difficult balance to strike from the perspective of an educator. Shout out Profe España. The program was exceptionally well planned, organized, and carried out. Some adverse events came up and everyone was able to handle them with grace and care. I didn't feel as though anyone was abandoned or left behind by any decisions that were made, although many students took issue with the food we were able to find. Overall, I hope that the program is run again every year, and my dream would be to one day be a professor that gets to participate in running the trip.
Thanks. Good.
Yes. Switch to this one? Yes. Thank you. Thanks, Miguel. We're going to start working on getting that line approved for Miguel to apply. Yesterday, Manuel made that. So this is 2 lines we need. Good things is being recorded. That was also Miguel outside La Moneda. I love that picture. Okay, next we have Amaya, who is psychology and Puerto Rican Latinx studies major.
Hi. Hi. Okay. So let me move a little bit more in.
My name is Amaya Roman. I am a psychology and Puerto Rican Latinx studies major. I just declared my PRLS major this semester after and there was like two big reasons why I wanted to go abroad. First, it was a life goal. It was actually something when I was applying to college. It was like something I took into consideration, and that's why I came to CUNY, because I could commute, I could work, I could save money, I could not burden my family, and I could go abroad. And that's what brought me into the fair. And then I saw the Chile table. Mind you, I'm being so serious. She was there fall semester, like, I think 2024 or something like that. Like, she was there with, like, a giant, like, these flags, and, like, it was just so decorated. It was the most liveliest table at that fair. And I grew up, I never had a Chilean professor. I never had someone I could look up to that was Chilean. Chilean celebrities aren't really a big thing. The closest thing right now that we have is Pedro Pascal. So seeing a professor that's fully Chilean. Yeah.
Pedro Pascal in this video on YouTube.
Yeah, so having a professor that was fully Chilean, that grew up there, that could tell me about my own heritage, where I really wasn't connected to it, because my dad's fully Puerto Rican, so I was known as the Puerto Rican kid in school. And my mom's Chilean, but she worked a lot. And the closest relatives I had, like living relatives, lived in like out of state, like in Jersey. So I didn't see them often as I saw my Puerto Rican relatives. So this trip gave me like the one and only opportunity to actually go to Chile and to actually learn about my country and learn about my heritage and understand some of the stuff that Miguel was saying, that we are a very colonial country. There's not a lot of it is very Americanized. And it makes sense given like what I'll talk about. Okay. So this is a poem from my personal essay. It's about my grandmother. So my grandmother was my only living Chilean grandparent on my mom's side. And she lived up the street, but she only spoke Spanish. And I never learned Spanish. So when she passed, it just made this need to connect with my Chilean heritage even more pressing. And so I wrote this poem. The ground you once walked on was covered in sand. It was full of people who shared the same looks as you, full of people who shared the same language as you, and most importantly, full of people who loved you. They still love you, by the way. That I can guarantee. And these pictures just kind of reminded me of my family. So whenever I did go to Jersey, my aunt, my tia, has adopted so many stray dogs from Chile. Like every time she goes to Chile, she'll come back with a stray dog. So that was one of the stray dogs that we met, and we were told not to touch, but all of us were like, they're so cute, we have to pet them. And those are the dunes. And the dunes are a really big thing in my family that I learned actually when I called my mom after we visited them. That was like the one place. So my family grew up poor in Chile. And my mom was already here in the States. She grew up in the States. But like my grandma and my tias and like my cousins, they grew up on the poorer side of Chile. And actually one of my cousins grew up during the dictatorship, during Pinochet's time from 1973 to 1989. He was a teenager, if I'm not wrong. And so the one kind of peace they had, the one kind of thing, escape they kind of had was the dunes. No one told me that. And we'll get into why that is. But yeah, so even my mom remembers like the very few times she visited as a child, she remembers going to the dunes, and that was really their safe place. That was their escape. And it does feel like a whole different world when you step into the dunes. So yeah. Okay, so this is another expert from my personal essay, but I'll explain the pictures first. So that's the university we actually studied at. So Profe would like teach us in this really nice university's classroom. That was like the little goodie bag they gave us. And then the girl with the blue hair and the braid, she's actually a local we met. She stopped me at a market outside of a mall and just started talking to me. And so we had like a full conversation, and then I like ran off to go meet my friends again. And they were like, oh my God, like who were you just talking to? Like go bring her back. Like what? Like Amaya, like that's crazy. And I was like, okay. Like, so we found her again at the mall, and she's actually graduating high school this year and going to that university. Small world. She lives in the Viña area, which was like the town right next to where we were staying. And when I was in Chile, she was taking driving lessons. And then I texted her like 2 months ago, and she told me that she got her license. So congrats to her. Her name's Renata. She was so sweet. And then these are just more views and stuff. So that like greenery was me and Donish just decided to wander off one day, and we ran into, I don't even know, like that was just so beautiful. We ran into it, and then that's just the mountain. You have to like walk down it to get to like your hotel. And so that was my roommates, all of us. We went to get our laundry, and we were holding our laundry bags, and we decided to walk back to the hotel because why not? So yeah, I felt that I got both best of both worlds on this trip. In class, I learned about Chile's history through books, museums, lectures. While outside of class, I heard stories from locals, explored different cities, and connected with my classmate who shares the same heritage as me, Miguel, just in case you didn't know. All right, so now we're gonna get a little heavy. Apologies. I'm kind of going to give you a little bit of a tour of Chile's Museum of Memory and Human Rights. So this museum was created in 2011. It was to honor and to commemorate and to make this like, to solidify that there was a dictatorship in Chile, because Chileans will tell you, like older Chileans that even my mom would tell me about, was that they saw this dictatorship as like a military occupation, which was not the case. And it wasn't even really formally taught until like the early 2000s, like 2006, I think, like a very long time after Pinochet had fallen. So I'm going to kind of give you a small tour of it. This is actually what the tour guide took us our first time going to the museum. And the plaque says, this mural, composed of drawings from children who lived through the dictatorship, now forms part of this museum's collections. It makes present and pays tribute to the 198 young children who were victims of the state of terrorism documented in the Reddington Report. The irregular colors and strokes bring life to their tragically interrupted lives, claiming a place among peers to preserve their memory and their capacity to imagine, create, and resist. And I wanted to read a quote. Took that from Miguel. I wanted to read a quote from the president that was the victim of the military coup, Salvador Allende. His final speech on radio that he gave as they were like basically burning down and trying to bomb the Chile's version of the White House. I took some excerpts from it, and one of the things that he said near the end of it, he said, "The people must defend themselves, but they must not sacrifice themselves. The people must not let themselves be destroyed or riddled with bullets, but they cannot be humiliated either." And I don't know, that just struck such a chord in me, because this is children's drawings. These are things, this is their lived experiences that, and this museum is 100% donation. So these are donated children's drawings from their time in the dictatorship. And so some of them, they look very happy. But then some of them, you can see that they're very dark and just, I don't know how to explain it, but they're just very tragic. They invoke a tragic feeling in you. And children have a hard time expressing themselves through words. And so it's very important. I work with kids. I understand it's very important to see how they express themselves through art, because that's how you can kind of see the inner turmoil that happens inside of them. And then just for context of these two pictures, this one is of a child who immigrated from Sweden to Chile. And then this one, the one on the other side, is from Canada, who came to Chile. And as you can see, they draw their like home countries as these like beautiful, lively places. And then when they draw Chile, they draw it with smog, with all this industrial stuff, violence, and just such dark colors. And this is during the dictatorship. They came during the dictatorship. So yeah. But Chileans weren't quiet about this. The world actually wasn't quiet about this either. So on the left side, where it says "Donde están," is Chilean protests that happened inside of Chile during this dictatorship. It's kind of cut off here, but this like black plaque right there, I actually had translated it, and it was a hunger strike that was just ongoing of 62 people doing this like indefinite hunger strike against the dictatorship, against what was happening, because food scarcity and safety were all things that were in jeopardy for the Chilean citizens, especially the ones that weren't rich. And then on the, what is this, your right side, is protests that happened internationally. So there were protests from France, from Germany, like there were protests that happened outside of Chile that really solidified and made it so that you know that this dictatorship was happening, and made it so that it wasn't taboo, even though it's still kind of talked about as taboo, but it proved that you couldn't erase what happened, and this museum is like a permanent thing that shows that you can't erase what happened. And another Salvador Allende quote that I really liked was, So this is a little near the beginning of his speech. He said, "The calm mental instrument of my voice will no longer reach you. It does not matter. You will continue hearing it. I will always be next to you, at least my memory will be that, of a man of dignity who was loyal to the workers." And yeah, so I thought that was very impactful. So thank you.
Thank you, Amaya, and welcome to Puerto Rican Latinx Studies, officially. Next up, tenemos Rachel. Rachel is also Brooklyn College Childhood, a bilingual education major, and a Puerto Rican Latinx Studies minor. Welcome, Rachel. Hello. Hello, everybody.
And you can use the arrow or space bar to go next step.
Okay, got it. Hello, everybody. My name is Rochelle. My major is childhood education with the bilingual extension. I am doing concentration, a minor in Puerto Rican and Latino studies. I'm probably going to change it to a major as well. The reasons why I'm taking, I took the PRLS study abroad course was because I grew up in Mexico in a small village. I lived there for 10 years and all I knew was a very small village. So I've only been in Mexico and the US so far. So, well, that was before the trip. I really wanted to learn about a different culture than the one I'm used to, the one that I always saw. And I also wanted to learn about history of Chile because as a future teacher, I want to consider that all my students are going to come from different backgrounds. And I really want to have the knowledge that maybe a little bit of knowledge of what they could experience. So I want to consider that and maybe, help them in a way that will make them feel more comfortable in the classroom. I also wanted to have it as personal growth, which I want to say I think I did. It was really, really thanks to the professor and to all my classmates. I really enjoyed it. We have some pictures here. The first one in the top is my roomies. We share an apartment together. I see them more than my just classmates. I see them as my friends and my sisters as well. Then on the other side, we have some photos that we went on a boat. We were like in the middle of the ocean. I'm really afraid of water, so that was that was very shocking to me. Then we have a photo over there in the dunas as well. It was also very, very beautiful. I've never seen nothing like that in my life. It was amazing. And then we had the last meal that we had with all the group, except Miguel because he left earlier. Then on the other side, well, let me see. Oh, yeah. But being an undergraduate student in childhood education, I saw this study abroad experience as an opportunity to learn about culture, the different education system, and some history of Chile. Instead, this experience made me grow as a person because it not only taught me to question the stories denied in history, but also made me realize that being a teacher is political and that to help communities, I have to embrace it by learning and sharing knowledge. So one of the things is that we went to Valparaiso and it's full of art everywhere. Most of them are like protest like drawings. They have a lot of graffitis. And then in this side you can see it says a 50 años nadie está olvidado. So even after 50 years nobody is forgotten. So when I saw that the streets reflect the loss of a lot of people and that I couldn't avoid making connections with what's happening right now in the US, where a lot of people are missing and they're looking for their families. You can see also a lot of people trying to fight for their rights. For example, in the right image, it says that the 500 lucas, las 500 lucas no alcanzan, which means that for 100 dollars or pesos, what their coin, it's not enough. And we have to fight for bread and work and health and a place to live and education. So this is what it says, and you can see that in the middle it says, it's very small, but it's because it didn't fit.
It says that they're honoring Julia Chunil, which is one of my classmates also mentioned. She was she was always she was a Mapuche leader fighting to defend environmental land. And the Mapuche, just so you know, is an indigenous community, which we talked in the first class, and I actually got to meet one of her. Her name is Sandra. She was the nicest person I ever met in my life. She has a jewelry like shop, which if you want to see it, I have her Instagram so you can look it up. She is so sweet. I really loved her. And we had a conversation. Let me see. Quick. Okay. So it was something along the line because I didn't have something to write in the moment. But she said, do not forget we are powerful women that can achieve anything we put our minds to, and we need to use that strength to help people in need. And that made me cry. I really cried a lot during this trip. It was amazing. I get really nervous, but I feel like no community should feel as a target with the upcoming government or within the current system. And talking with her was amazing because it made me reflect of how people are suffering over there as well, and they're doing their best to continue fighting for their rights and for the rights of other people. So we have to do the same thing because this is the same thing that's happening right now. Then we also see the Palestinian Libre, which is the image on the other side. People always put the art as well to support, other communities as well, that the one that they have. But although the Palestinian community it was an immigration coming to Chile, and it was not shown in the museum, although we went there, and it was not really shown as much as you can see. Well, I didn't put images, but there was a lot of information that I couldn't put. I would be here forever. Then we went to the Court of Appellations. I don't know if that's how you would say it. Appeals, okay. Court of Appeals. What had me shocked was the amount of work that a single person will be in charge of. One person is in charge of the immigration process, and because of this, many times this process will take up to 2 years to get an appointment for the meeting, just to find out that they not qualified for asylum in the country, and they had to leave. So when we saw that, it was really shocking. And then we had a conversation with who was the president of the court, and he mentioned that immigration was something new and that they didn't have enough people to work there because it was something new. However, we went to a museum that was of immigration, and although most of the time when we went there, it showed most of the European perspective and not about what happened with the communities that were already here, like in the indigenous communities, and how other communities from Venezuela, Argentinian, or like even before that, the Haitian communities, the Palestinian communities. So that was not really in the museum, or at least it was in a very small section where you don't really get to see, right? So those things are shown in history, but are not shown in the actual facts that are right now in the court. So I don't know what's going on, but as you can see, the system is not really trying to help or to get better, like to improve their system. For example, also another thing I didn't add, but during the applications, when you search online, they only have the English and Spanish version. So what happens with the Haitian communities or with the Palestinian communities, if they don't speak Spanish or English, how do they have access to that? There's no people that are there to translate documents. So if they get to the appointment and they don't have the documentation in order, because they didn't have resources, because they don't have a right translation, then they struggle, right? And then they have to do the whole process again, and that just delays the process. So that is something that people have to consider, because even just a simple translation can help someone's life. And that is something really to think about, because it's not only just about helping with money, but something with a simple translation. Oh my God, this is even more emotional, but another experience that marked my life was the Museo de la Memoria y de los Derechos Humanos. In this museum, it talked about the people who suffered during the dictatorship of Pinochet. Other things shown in the museums are similar to what is happening in the U.S., with the government being in control of the media, using this as a way to create fear between communities and using them as a distraction to cover all the terrible policies that they are putting, as well as the kidnapping of people and the blaming of other communities so the politicians don't have to stay accountable. So on the top, you can see it's a drawing. It's a, oh, I realized I wasn't talking to the microphone, but there's a drawing in the letter that a little kid did. I don't think if you can see it very well, but this is in 1945, I think, or something like that. It's looking for their family. They said that they took her father or his uncle, and then they don't know where they are, which is something that's happening right now with ICE as well. The kidnapping of people, and we don't know what they are. They take them to facilities, and they've been switching them around, and where they are, I don't know. But how do you ask for information? How do you ask for help to the police that took them? So who do you ask for help, really? Then we have also an image that is of the protest of the 10. It doesn't have a year. Fidel was the one that did it. He's 12 years old. It's about an image about a protest. I don't know exactly where it is, but you can see a lot of people like running around and people shooting, well, the police shooting, and a lot of blood everywhere, which is crazy to think that a 12-year-old draw that, but it's not that crazy because if you really think about it, children are exposed to these things. They are in everywhere. They see it in the news as well because they see the bad things that are happening and not really what caused this. Then on the other side we have, if you see the pictures, we all are happy, but that was because before we went to the museum. After the museum, we were crying. It was terrible. But then they also said, and the question, how did we get to neglect the humanity of the people? Something along the line. So we really need to consider how do we get to this point. And that'll be it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Amira is coming up, and Amira is also childhood ed major, Puerto Rican Latinx Studies minor concentration, and you have pictures of the museum. So for the museum that Che was referring to, you're going to help us out. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Amir Perez, and I am a childhood education major with a concentration in Puerto Rican and Latinx studies. And my reasons for taking this course is I wanted to experience a different community and lifestyle, and it was also a personal goal of mine. I always wanted to study abroad. So what my heart desires most is to experience a different way of living, learning, and connecting. Spending 3 weeks in Chile allowed me to create unforgettable memories, gain a sense of independence, build friendships, and stepped out of my comfort zone. And being given the opportunity to study abroad has contributed to my personal growth and will continue to support my career path. So in this picture, this is my roommate Mosh and my friend, and we was at the beach. We took pictures with the locals. And this here, I think this was Donish's room, and this is his balcony, and this is the scenery. And the last picture was the school that we went to, and this is the landscape, and it was really beautiful to look at. So we went to the Museum of Immigrants, and upon visiting the museum, I learned about how immigrants traveled and built a new life in Chile. And the museum showcased the immigrant experiences of Europeans, but I think it lacked showcasing experiences of Haitians, Palestinians, and I think what really should have been added to this museum is the current immigration rate of Haitians and Palestinians and other immigrants from different South American countries, because I think it would have been reflected of Chile's political issues. And then this is when we met Haitian professors that were doing a study in Chile about Haitian immigrants. So immigration is one of Chile's major political discussions. In this course, I learned about the history of immigration in Chile, specifically Haitians and Palestinian immigrants. In Santiago, meeting Nkrumah St. Louis deepened my understanding of Haitian immigrants in Chile, and he shared his experience of being a Haitian immigrant in a Latin country, and he talked about his hardships pursuing his education, experiencing discrimination, learning a new language, and adapting to a different society. And he said something that stuck out to me. He said, just because a dog barks doesn't mean you need to look back. And he shared his experience on how he was mistreated in school. I think one of his classmates called him a monkey. So he was taken aback, but he's like, just because a dog barks doesn't mean you need to look back. So I really like that quote. And thank you so much for listening. Sorry.
Thank you so much. We also want to thank the Haitian Studies Institute, made it possible for Queens College professor Francois to go from Queens College to interview Haitian immigrants in Chile, and that was so powerful. Also, he visited our class and got to chat with us. Danish, we welcome Danish, a philosophy and business major.
Hi, everybody. My name is Danish. I'm a business and philosophy major. And the reason I chose Chile for my study abroad program is because it would have been my first time in Latin America. I've been to the Middle East and I've been to Asia. So I don't think I've been anywhere down South Carolina. So this is a lot more souther than I've ever been. And I think the course itself was really important. And looking at the syllabus and seeing everything that was being covered, shout out Professor Carla as always. These were like location and material. Everything was perfect. For me, if I want to talk about my study abroad experience, I have to talk about like the sensory experience first, because where we were living, we were right off the shoreline, and every night it was like free ocean sounds. So I'm not gonna lie, even now that I'm back, I'm still every now and then just playing some ocean sounds to mimic the feeling. But I think this is something that really allowed our cohort to get close, which was having that environment where we could just sort of take it in, especially being from the city, where we don't see this a lot. We see one concrete building to another. So I think this was also a really nice change of pace and one of the reasons I chose it. And like all my peers who've gotten up here and talked about the political situation in Chile, I want to point out, like, it's not just political graffiti in this sense. It's like even when you're driving on the highway and on the side where in the US we don't have it, but like the highways usually have the yellow and black colors on the road, and each tile will have like we saw. I remember when we saw it was like Donde está Julia Chunli, and just to say, like, it's a very integrated in their society to, or at least their youth, to be like political and speak up. And they speak up in very creative ways, in very expressive ways, I would say. And it's like you can't go out and be like you didn't see nothing, because it's everywhere. It's blasted. Like, this is just like one, but imagine like the whole wall just filled with the same thing, because people want you to notice. And I think that also speaks to it, that even if you're like a tourist or just like a student coming here, like, it makes you see everything and, hopefully question what's happening. And Valparaiso, which is the city behind us, for me, this it kind of feels like Lahore. I grew up in Pakistan for a little bit of my childhood, and Lahore has like tight knit roads, and like, it's just like kids always running around, and businesses within neighborhoods. So for me, it's like it was another experience where it's like this feels just like the same. It's like we're all from the same place, the world, you know. So I think you know that I just want like that's important because you know it helps me connect my childhood to the experience, and even like small things like I don't know if this picture kind of really shows it, but like at top of like electricity poles, like the cable lines are all messed up. I was like, yeah, that's definitely that's home. That's home for sure. And I don't. This part, I'm not a big reader off the screen. This is just for you guys, but I want to say that this experience really helped me be more conscious about my own heritage and my family's journey to the U.S., for example, because you see examples of migration, especially like the latest big wave of migrations being from Haiti, and before that, Venezuelans and XYZ. And you kind of see like the way they're trying to integrate into society and how that society is receiving them and the challenges they struggle with and vice versa. And it's just like, oh, okay, my parents did do the same though. And it's not like my family's done this once, we've done this twice now. Because even though I'm Pakistani, if you go like just 3 generations back, we're all Kashmiri. Because we originally we're displaced migrants that came from Kashmir to Pakistan after partition. So being in this course and being in Chile and it being at the political point I think it was at, especially with the elections going on and unfortunately them electing Hitler again, something of the sort. It's I think it's made me want to be like come back. It made me come back to Brooklyn College and be like, I need to think about whether do I want to like pursue what I originally wanted to do in college or something else. But yeah, thank you everybody. Oh, this is like a bookstore I found in like Valparaiso, and this author, he owns a store and like everything in it. He's like all the drawings are his, and he was just like really happy that somebody came in and bought it, and he was like, I want one day like all my drawings to be at like different places in the world, and like that's what he was trying to say. Like he wants me to take it. I was like, hell yeah, like, I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna put it in my wall in Brooklyn. So yeah, he was really nice, and you know, I think I had a nice experience. You know, being brown and you know not being where like everybody else is brown. So yeah, it's just like it's really nice just taking it in and being bold a little bit and you know having fun.
So many bookstores. We need like a 5-week study abroad program next time to travel all through the country. Like Miguel said, we got to go different places. Oh, hold on, Valerie! And Valerie is actually joining us from Baruch. And because, you know, when you're a CUNY student, you can study abroad through any CUNY. And here you go. I'm so happy.
I'm from Baruch, but I live in the Bronx. And traveling from the Bronx to Brooklyn is not for the weak, can I just say? But hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Study abroad has truly changed my life. It has been such an incredible experience with the most incredible people. And coming back from my study abroad trip, I have just had a different outlook on life. It's truly been a blessing. It's truly been amazing to even say that I traveled outside of New York. So one of the very first things that I noticed when I went to Chile is how peaceful the people over there are. They are taking in life every second. Their pace is very slow, and we always joke that we were on Chilean time when we went over there because in New York, you're always hustling and bustling. Like you're from one stop to the next, hopping on this train, walking as fast as you can to get to your next destination. But in Chile, you truly, truly got to stop and take in everything that we were seeing. And Chile is such a beautiful country where everywhere you look, it's like a picture. It's like a painting. So you really take it all in. And we were on the coast, like Danish said, which was, wow. It was literally like summer in the middle of January, which is so different for me, but just packing up my suitcase, traveling to a new place, enjoying new foods, and just the ability for myself to do that independently as someone who has always like been at home with my parents and my siblings. It was just such a good change, and having that coexist with the people that I was with and what I was learning, it was just such life changing for me. So here we met like students from the host university that we were studying at, and they took us on a scavenger hunt, I think our first day or the day before our first day of class, and they had us running around all of like Valparaiso. They like did a scavenger hunt with us, and here we just got to get connected with the city. So we were in the calmer parts, which was Viña, but in Valparaiso was just up and going, which reminds me a lot of New York. But compared to Viña Sol Place, Valparaiso is definitely vibrant, colorful, people that come from all different types of backgrounds that carry strong messages. And the micro was definitely my favorite part. That bus does not stop for nobody. Like, you have to hop off. But it was definitely like, it reminded me of home, like Donnie said. Like, you literally are just like, you're just traveling free. It's not the trains where you get on, you sit. No, like, it's such like it's just a journey to get through. So it's definitely one of my favorite parts. Our view from our hotel was, wow, 10 out of 10. The drinks over there, can I say, no sugar. Like, you're the healthiest you'll ever be. And they take their no sugar seriously over there. And just different things that I saw that we took in. It's just, I felt so connected to Chile, even though I've never been there before. And just at the study abroad affair, Baruch, I remember talking to Professor España and her just saying, like, you have to come. Like, this is it. Like, we're going to be staying beachfront. But genuinely, like, she sold it to me, can I say. But being there is just, it was so different just hearing about it and then actually living it. So it was definitely the right choice for me. So we also had a day trip to Valparaiso for one of our class trips, and there I definitely got the chance to explore and eat and just talk to people that were there. So from one of the museums that we visited, we definitely saw like this like Danish said, they have paintings of everything, graffiti to murals to just art. Chile's just a very art-based country. Everyone is like always like showing colors. And I remember this Amy Winehouse one, and my name is Valerie, and her song is Valerie. So I remember just being like, wow, like that's so cool. But the views, the skylines, the beautiful houses, like it just. I remember telling my friend Nick, like, I want to move here. Like, I want to live here. Like, this is anywhere that's tropical, hot, like beautiful houses, beautiful streets. I want to be there. So it's definitely a country that I can potentially see myself visiting or even like going there for a long time. It's just so relaxing coming from New York, having to deal with like the stress of school and work. It's just definitely like time off that I had to myself. And we visited one of the courts in Valparaiso. It definitely changed my perspective on immigration. I remember we met with like the head lawyer in the court, and she was telling me that she's the only one that essentially handles all the immigration courts. So think of like 500, 600 like cases that she has to deal with by herself. She's the main person that people go to. So it definitely challenged my perspective on the immigration experience. And being an immigrant myself, it just offered me a new like understanding of human resilience and systematic like struggle. So Chile has taught me definitely that growth happens not in just the environment you're in or the place you visit. It's definitely the like perspectives that you gain, and it's shown me again that I am capable of doing whatever I put my mind to. I definitely remember telling my mom before flying, like, I'm gonna be so homesick. Like, I'm gonna miss home, but Chile just, it was home away from home for me. And inside the classroom, outside the classroom, I just learned so much just from talking, from seeing, like, just having new experiences. And it was definitely so sad to return home, but it definitely motivated me to connect with my own culture, my own heritage, and to just find out where my ancestors came from. I remember, like, Mosh and Danish, we literally sat and, like, talked about, like, the differences in our culture, and it was definitely, like, so cool to see that we are so similar. Like, we are similar people, so it was definitely cool to see that as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Layla is joining us. I must have missed something here because Layla, you are Sociology and Africana Studies? Yes.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. So, my name is Layla M. Kazi. I'm a sociology major with a minor in Africana Studies, both amazing departments. And this was actually my very first class with the Puerto Rican Latino Studies department. So, honored to have taken it and to have been a part of this amazing class. And despite it not being my major, I felt such a interdisciplinary lens within the curriculum, the coursework. It very much pushed me as a sociology student, as an Africana Studies student, and just as a student trying to learn more about the world. So, shout out Professor Espana again. So, something you need to know about me is I love travel very, very much. So Chile was at the time my 10th country visited. Now I'm at 12. So, but I'll just read a little bit from my final paper that I submitted, my reflections. So, my time in Chile has far exceeded my expectations. Since I was young, I've always dreamed of traveling the world, even before I had an understanding of what that truly meant. My mind and heart have always longed for cultural exploration and exchange. Growing up in the Bronx helped cultivate this passion as it exposed me to people from all walks of life. I remember in high school telling my dad that I would one day visit every single country in the world. He was very pessimistic and shut that idea down rather quickly. As a parent, I can imagine how watching your children grow into these rambunctious, curious, and passionate young people can be very scary. For my immigrant dad, who had to accept that I would be going far and wide into the world and into places he himself had never ventured, I can only think of how that must have felt for him. And I often wonder what he would think of me now. So Chile was the 10th country I visited, and it was my first time in South America. And it truly brought so much growth for me as someone who wants to be a part of the world and learn to understand my place in the world, as well as someone who has navigated grief and loss in my life. My father passed away when I was in high school, and I oftentimes reflect on those conversations and about how I would go off into the world and find my place in it. And my dad had never been to South America, so many times when I was traveling around the country, like many of my peers, I saw him and I saw our conversations. I saw parts of my own heritage. I'm Moroccan, and I saw so many parts of the country from Valparaiso to Santiago to Viña del Mar, and I saw the water and the ocean air and the people and the laughter, and I saw my own country, my beautiful father's homeland, mi patrimonio. So prior to this course, immigration felt almost taboo. When we had a guest lecturer, Nokolama, he spoke about his experiences as a black man in Chile. He highlighted the fact that things are not always easy when you go into a new country. The host country sometimes can accept you, but it can also reject despite how much you have to offer. So for him, he came to Chile a college educated man, a man of color, someone who was bilingual, cultured, a musical artist, talented. And from my perspective, he had nothing but greatness to offer Chile, yet he faced a lot of rejection from his peers and from the community there. So again, that often had me reflecting on my own father's experiences when he immigrated to the US. He came from Casablanca, Morocco to the Bronx, New York in 1986. And again, he was educated, he was bilingual, he learned different languages, and yet he faced a lot of rejection. And he was a New York City cab driver for over 20 years, and he had many fun stories from that. And he was very vibrant. And I think that's something that I saw a huge connection to, how many immigrants come to these host countries with so much to offer, the best of the best, and yet they still face rejection. Okay. Another really important highlight for me was being in nature. That's another huge part of who I am as a person. And to access nature in general has always been hugely impactful for me. In the United States of America, a lot of our state and national parks are exclusive. From urban planning to different recreational programming in the United States, they're very exclusive to Black and Brown people. And to be a Black or Brown person holding space in nature, it's very important to see the reclamation of that. That when you're on indigenous land, you are taking space there and in a system that has been purposefully excluding you. So that was very important to me to see Chile through the natural landscapes as this is indigenous natural land. And then this is another quote from my final reflections. From the Lenape land of New York to the Mapuche land of Chile, my eyes have seen and my feet walked around pieces of the earth my ancestors have never encountered. And as I grow older, I realize I'm setting the tone for what my descendants will have and who they'll have known their ancestor to have been. Not only am I breaking generational curses, I am building generational wealth in something worth far more than currency. So, what does this mean to me? As a child of immigrants, as a North African American woman, as the first in my family to go to college, to go to university, to do a study abroad, to have walked around the beautiful streets of Viña del Mar in Chile, and to have these experiences. I'm the first in my family to do that, but I'm making sure that I will not be the last, and that I can learn from these experiences to leverage that to where my future generations could say that they have ancestors that not only experienced the world, but actively participated in it, to actively have taken part in this history, and to understand my place in the world and the power I hold with my voice. Thank you.
And you're also done, right, this semester? Another senior. So we have Mash and Leila. And to finish, we have our last presentation is Giselle, a psychology major. And welcome, Giselle, who also had a whole vlog during the whole trip. So you documented this a lot.
All right. Hello, my name is Giselle Sanchez, and I am majoring in psychology. So some of the reasons why I wanted to study abroad, specifically in Chile, and take this course was because I wanted to build my global awareness and also build my independence, as many of my peers have talked about. Now, there is so much to say, so much to reflect on when it comes to this trip. I mean, with just the privilege of being able to wake up and sleep to the sounds of the ocean was just so beautiful, you know. As someone who has literally had to search up ocean sounds on YouTube to like fall asleep, you know, it was amazing. It was amazing, just like John said. Like, it was truly amazing, and I feel like before I talk about all of the good memories that I had, I think that's very important for me to bring awareness to everything that happened before I let myself enjoy this trip. So, actually, on the very first night that we landed, I was in my hotel room crying, bawling my eyes out, filled with anxiety, and I was just so scared. I was so scared. I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna be stuck here for 3 weeks. Like, what do I do? Like, oh my god, like, I was just, you know, coming from literally growing up in New York, like everything is just so go, go, go. And something that I learned during this trip is I do not know how to relax, like at all. And so it just brought so much fear in me. I'm like, I have to stay here for 3 weeks, and like I don't have work, I don't have the gym, like I don't like what, like this is so different. I'm not used to this, you know. And then the more that I thought about it, the more I just thought about my parents, and I was like, wait, like my parents have worked so much harder than me in their entire lives, and they never got to experience something as beautiful as something as simple as the balcony from right here, like something as simple as this view. Like they never got to experience that, and I felt so much guilt. And so after debriefing with my professor, Carla, thank you so much for that. I realized that, you know, I was experiencing imposter syndrome, and, you know, it did not make me feel good. But I was like, she helped ground me, and then from there, I was like, okay, I can relax. I can, like, let me try to center myself, bring myself to this moment, because if I keep overthinking, I'm never going to enjoy this trip, right? So, so, I had this friend on this trip that I made. His name was Nick. And I remember in the beginning of this trip, he kept telling me, why are you always smiling? Why are you always smiling? Why are you always smiling? Right? And so at first I was like, there's no way you're talking about me. There's no way you're talking about me, because long story short, before this trip, I was struggling with really bad depression. And I just, like, my family back at home, like, they knew how much I was really losing myself and how much I was really just losing myself. And so the fact that he saw me smiling all the time, I was like, that cannot be real. That cannot be real. But just the more that he reminded me and the more he kept saying it, the more I realized, I was like, there's a happy version of me that exists in this world as long as I put myself first, as long as I go after the goals that I want to. Because this trip, like, I wanted to build so much independence, and I finally did that for myself. I finally took the courage to feel worthy enough to apply for this program, because there's so many papers you have to write, especially for scholarships too. Like, you really got to pitch yourself. You got to believe in yourself. And I'm so thankful that I did believe in myself, because it led me to this moment. It led me to be able to experience this trip. And so I'm so grateful for that. And going into this trip, like Layla mentioned, like, I had so many firsts. I'm the first person in my family to go to college, period. Like, I'm the first person in my family to ever study abroad. I'm the first person in my family to ever, like, travel outside of home countries, Mexico and the United States, right, because I was born here. And so there were so many firsts that I experienced on this trip. For example, here you see pictures of my very first hike that I took with Layla and Hashem. Like, it was amazing, and it was so cool, because I feel like it really taught me, like, wow, like, if I set my mind to something, I can really do it. Because going on a hike was literally on my vision board for this year, and I literally completed in, like, the first 3 weeks of the year. I was like, wow. I was like, okay, things are possible, you know? And so I'm so grateful for that. And so speaking of first, during this trip, I felt I missed my family so much. I missed my cousins. I missed my siblings. They're literally, like, they're my babies. And so I remember every single day, every single night, I couldn't wait to go home and text my cousins in the group chat and send them so many pictures, be like, oh my god, I did X, Y, and Z, I did X, Y, and Z. Like, it was just so much fun, because I felt like I felt the need to share this moment with them, because for me, it wasn't just about, this trip wasn't just about putting myself first, but I hope that with my cousins and my siblings seeing me going through this process and actually studying abroad, I just hope to influence them in the sense that they can do whatever they set their minds to, right? Even if it feels so scary because you've never seen anyone in our entire family do something like this. Because I was so scared to apply this program. I'm like, what if I put in all this work and it doesn't work out? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Sorry. I was like, what if, what if this is all worth for nothing? And so I just hope that all my siblings and my family just know that, like, if they set their, if you want to do something in this world, like, you can, even if you've never seen anyone in your immediate family do this, like, it is possible. You just have to do your research and believe in yourself and do it. And so this is one of my thumbnails of my cousins and I trying Chilean snacks. Unfortunately, they didn't like a lot of them, but I mean, you know, it was cool. And then, arigato. Thank you in Japanese. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. We want to give a special shout out to Brooklyn College School of Humanities and Social Sciences for hosting this expo. International Programs and Study Abroad with Director Mohammed Tabrani. The Puerto Rican and Latinx Studies Department with Professor Carla, who taught this course in Chile.
Yeah, like 5-7 minutes? Okay. So we have some time for questions. I know we have some faculty.
Yes. I'm so glad to hear about this journey that you all went on because I've been hearing a lot about it. And I'm glad that you shouted out your professor so much, not just because she's wonderful, but because so much work goes into a study abroad program. Nobody talked about the two things that I heard about. One was Bad Bunny. And the other is every faculty member and parent's worst nightmare, which is that you all had struggles with some of you had challenges coming back. And so I'm just curious if maybe one or two of you would want to speak to the challenge of the program.
Yeah, like because of the big storm we had in January, we got delayed. So yeah, how did, navigating the travel delay and go ahead, Mark.
This is so funny because I remember emailing you. I was like, the class today.
Excuse absence.
Yeah.
If you could stand here, so that that's easier. Yeah. Go ahead, Much. Okay.
I think when I first, my parents were already like texting me and they were like, "You're gonna make it." Like my mom was really, really anxious. But the minute I think I was with Valerie and Yesin when we found out that our trip was, our plane ticket was canceled, and I was so chill about it. I was like, yeah, literally. I was like, I mean, at first we were all at that point missing our family, but then I was like, like we're gonna go back, and then we're gonna go. We had a few extra days with each other, and then that's exactly how we felt. Like when we were actually like hopping on the plane, we're like. It was kind of like a blessing, because we got on our planes. I mean, actually, we had a lot of trouble. Like the Delta people had a lot of trouble, actually. Like, we don't speak for them. I was kind of chill. But like, yeah. But like, once we were situated in each hotel, that was difficult as well because we had to like find 2 different hotels to stay in. We were kind of just moving and moving. But we did have extra time to be with each other, which I think we were all for. Especially when we were back, because our trip to Chile was just extended. That's how we kind of saw it after. And I just told my mom, I was like, all right, we have great Mohammed. We trusted him like a father.
Yeah.
We trusted Professor like a mom. Like, I was like, they're going to get us perfect. So that's kind of how I felt. Yeah.
Okay, for that Bunny concert, that was only the professors that went. But like we were so happy for them and so excited. We were like take a bunch of pictures, like all of us when we get there. Like we were so excited about that. Yeah, it was like an unexpected thing.
Bad Bunny changed the dates of the Super Bowl performance.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be in Chile in February, and then he changed the date so that he was there in January. And
Yeah, so we were like full support though for them. Like we were like, we definitely can't afford that. But you guys can go do that. But but the cancellation of flights, I remember I was with Giselle, Amira, and Kathleen, who she's not here today, but we were in Valpo and we were trying to do like our last souvenir shopping, and we were like in this random like bathroom like area where it was like a resting area and then there was a bathroom, and we got the email and we're all panicking because we were all mentally like ready to go home. Like we were just ready to start the semester. We were so excited to start the semester and to make plans once we got back to the States. So it was a lot of panic, but then that panic kind of dulled out once we went to one hotel in Valpo for I think like 2 nights, and then our final stay was in Santiago, like near the airport. And that hotel in Valpo, something that was beautiful that we got to do that we didn't even think was possible was that Profe's family, her uncle, her uncle hosted us for lunch at their family home. So it was like one last like big meal that we got to have all together. Even Miguel, because he was still with us, he was sharing with us too. So it was just such a beautiful experience to be around both this like Land family and to meet everybody and to just talk one more time before going. And then that picture, I forgot who had it on their slides, of us at a Venezuelan restaurant, which was like our last meal. That also was really nice because we were like, we have to get lunch together one last time before we fly out to the airport. So I remember I had like looked up the place and we were all coordinating because we were all in different parts of Santiago, like doing our own thing. But yeah, so those 3 days, like, yes, we were all very anxious and nervous and like homesick, but we were all so grateful for this trip to actually get extended and to actually be able to see each other one last time before we went off. So yeah.
So, welcome back. So it sounds like for a lot of you, this was the first time to take a big trip like this, except like. Given now that you've had time out of this country and now you come back, how does that change your feeling about what you call home? And I know a lot of you come from immigration, parents or even yourself, and also given that this country's become so less inviting and welcoming than it ever was, my memory. How do you feel about being in the United States now? This feeling like, is this home or is this less home or is it more home? How do you feel about it?
Miguel?
I'm Chilean, and like I was born there. I spent the first couple of years of my life there, and then I moved to the U.S. And so I have always had a lot of difficulty viewing this country as home in general. I was calling a friend of mine, this political organizer here at college, and we were kind of talking about stuff because, amazing community, but I obviously like missing my home and everything, so I was calling with them, and then, usually I have so much trouble waking up in the morning. Like, that's the worst for me. Like, I'm not a morning person. And yet, I'm like, partying with these amazing people all the time, and like, staying up late having deep conversations with Donish on the balcony, and then like waking up every single morning, like I'm totally completely fine, late grade class. And I was like, I think it's that you're not in the US. I think that's the deal. Like that's why you're having such a good time. And like there's definitely some psychic damage from being in this culture, like you said, that can be very unwelcome. Anyone else?
I just want to add that, I've lived a long time in Mexico. It's a small village, right? Everybody knows each other. But I feel that the reason why I feel so welcoming and the same way I felt when I went to Chile with my friends, it was because everyone everyone supports each other. Everyone's there to help each other. I got sick a couple times, and everyone was there to check up on me. It's like, are you okay? I got your pills. I got your things. And the fact that coming back to the States, everyone has a very individualist mindset. Like everyone is just in their own world. Whatever is going on around me, I don't really care. I don't want to know about it. So the fact that everyone is living in their own world and they want their own space, nobody really cares for each other. So it doesn't feel like a community because nobody knows each other and nobody wants to know about each other. So the fact that we were all together, and although it was a very different country and different culture, I felt like it really felt like a community because of the people we were surrounded. I really
Thank you. Okay, Danish, last words, and then we gotta.
I mean, I just want to quickly say, like, I think I understand more of the perception that maybe people from South or Latin America might have about the U.S. or just anybody, you know, global north. Coming from like South Asia and Pakistan, like I kind of know like how people look at like coming to the U.S. or UK or Canada for like a better life, XYZ, and what that comes with, like the social dynamics, what the challenges. And I kind of see how the perception of that isn't that great also in Latino America as well. So, you know, it kind of shows it's being there, presently learning and like participating in like their society and engaging with them. I think that when you come back kind of shows you like we're not doing a good job, and something needs to change. Something gotta give.
All right, we want to honor everyone's time, so another round of applause for this meeting. And also last shout out to pictures of the scavenger hunt that they also did with us.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
And we're gonna take a quick picture, and then we'll go outside for a picture. Okay. Ready? All right. Come on in. We might have